Nindya, and welcome back to today's Global Insight Report. Tonight we turn our attention to a silent crisis unfolding right inside our homes, our neighborhoods and our cities. For years, Indonesia's growing middle class was celebrated globally as a symbol of our nation's economic progress and rising prosperity. They were the engine of our growth, the absolute proof that our developing nation was on the right track. Today, however, the narrative has taken a sharp and concerning turn. Millions of families find themselves caught in a grueling daily battle between steadily increasing expenses and stubbornly stagnant purchasing power. Tonight, we bring you a special in-depth report on the vanishing middle class. Let us step back and look at what the middle class dream used to be. Just a decade ago, entering the middle class meant achieving a comfortable level of financial security. It meant having the ability to buy a home, purchase a car, provide quality education for children, and still have enough money left over for family vacations and savings. It was a life defined by upward mobility, hard work, and endless optimism for the future. But talk to families across the Greater Jakarta area, Surabaya, or Medan today, and you will hear a very different story. The reality on the ground is that financial security is becoming significantly harder to maintain. The cost of living has crept up relentlessly. We see it in the rising prices of basic food staples at the traditional markets and modern supermarkets. We see it in the increasing cost of electricity, fuel, and daily transportation. We see it in the skyrocketing tuition fees and healthcare costs that drain bank accounts in a matter of days. Yet while the cost of simply existing continues to climb, monthly wages for many skilled and professional workers have barely moved. The paycheck that comfortably covered a family's basic needs 5 years ago now barely stretches to the end of the month. Because of this severe financial squeeze, we are witnessing a nationwide phenomenon known as trading down. Families are quietly downgrading their daily lifestyle. They are switching from premium goods to generic brands. They are delaying the purchase of new vehicles or holding off on essential home repairs. Vacations are cancelled and luxury spending is eliminated. Tragically, many are forced to dip into their hard-earned emergency savings just to cover routine monthly deficits. The financial pressure is especially crushing for the sandwich generation. These are the young professionals who are financially responsible for raising their own young children while simultaneously providing for their aging parents. For this highly burdened group, the dream of buying a first home is slipping further and further out of reach. It has been replaced by a precarious cycle of renting and living anxiously from paycheck to paycheck. This growing public anxiety is leading prominent economists and sociologists to raise a massive red flag. Concerns are rapidly emerging over whether the very group that once fueled Indonesia's phenomenal economic growth is gradually losing its footing. And this brings us to the most critical question of our broadcast tonight. If the backbone of domestic consumption weakens, what might that mean for Indonesia's future? The economic implications are truly massive. The Indonesian economy is heavily driven by its own people. Household consumption accounts for more than half of our entire national gross domestic product. When the middle class feels poor, they stop spending. When they stop buying new clothes, dining out at local restaurants, or purchasing electronics, the negative ripple effect moves instantly through the broader economy. Local markets lose their regular customers and small businesses owners struggle to keep their doors open. Retailers see a sharp drop in sales. Factories are forced to slow down their production lines. Businesses freeze their hiring processes, lay off workers, and overall economic growth begins to heavily stagnate. If we allow the middle class to erode, we risk falling into the dreaded middle income trap. This is a dangerous economic scenario where a developing country attains a certain level of income, but it gets permanently stuck, failing to make the final necessary leap to become a fully developed high-income nation. The grand national ambition of achieving a golden Indonesia by the year 2045 relies entirely on maintaining a strong, affluent, and confident middle class. Addressing this complex issue requires much more than just acknowledging it on the news. It demands immediate and comprehensive actions from government policymakers to tackle deep structural problems within our economy. This means creating labor policies that encourage real and sustainable wage growth. It means aggressively controlling inflation on essential consumer goods. It means expanding nationwide access to genuinely affordable housing and ensuring that the high cost of education and medical care do not permanently bankrupt working families. In conclusion, the plight of the vanishing middle class embodies both the hopes and dilemmas of a nation at a pivotal movement. It reflects Indonesia's aspiration to become a developed, high-income country, yet it also reveals deep challenges in wage stagnation, living costs, and economic equity. The ultimate success of our economic policies will not be judged by GDP growth alone, but by measurable improvements in financial security, purchasing power, and the standard of living for everyday families. Our national legacy depends on whether we can translate the promise of a golden Indonesia into lasting progress, or whether it becomes an unattainable dream for the very people expected to build it. The real question is not just how much our economy is growing on paper, but whether that growth actually translates into a stable and prosperous reality for the backbone of our nation. That's a wrap for today's report. I'm Alika Nindya, signing off. Until next time.